Greetings and welcome to the Mukfin Insurance Forum. Today, I have a very exciting guest on the panel, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy it. Kelvin, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Simba. Appreciate it.
Yes. So maybe just to kick off, a brief intro of yourself. Who are you? What are you involved in, and what's your business about?
Thank you, Mr. Simba. Okay, my name is Kelvin Bhehane. I've been doing safety since 2012. So I started working in retail. I was working for a company called SVA Holdings, but I was placed in working for Builders Warehouse. Okay. So from retail, moved to construction, worked for a couple of companies, worked for Eskom, and then when I gained enough experience, 2018, I went full-time in health and safety.
Okay, so yes. In a nutshell, you are a health and safety expert in the construction industry.
Yes, in the retail, construction, and a bit of mining, and also logistics.
Okay.
Yes.
And why health and safety? Maybe if you can give us an insight into why you eventually thought, no, this is my calling.
I like that question because most people always ask me. There's a book by, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Stephen Corney. One of his quotes, he says, "Your assignment is not your decision, but your discovery."
Yeah.
So 2012, I was in between jobs at some point, and my wife was chatting to one of her clients and says, "You know what, my hubby is not working." And she said, "No, there's a job being a health and safety officer." I didn't know anything about health and safety officer.
Yeah.
I even felt like, what is this thing about safety officer? It sounds like a security officer, you know. But the client came back again and says, the offer is still there. I took it. He says, you know what, it's better than sitting at home. But what happened is I started researching. I started going on internet, asking around, and I fell in love with health and safety. So it's not like I decided as something that I found myself in it, and I dropped everything. I said, I think I found what I love. So since 2012, I never changed. I started pursuing health and safety.
Yeah, and I assume part of you pursuing health and safety, part of you discovering that passion, you would have gone through some studies to sharpen yourself.
Yes. So what happened is when I was working at Builders, I enrolled and did my environmental health and safety diploma. And then also I started doing some of the short courses just to empower myself, because I always believe that it's important that you invest in yourself. If you want to make it in life, you are number one investment, so that you get to a point where you are needed out there. You have enough skills and knowledge, So I started investing in myself, studying, and even currently I'm doing what they call NVQ level 6 occupational health and safety practice. It's one of the top diploma in health and safety. It's an international diploma.
So when people see a health and safety officer on their site or a construction site, they must have the confidence that this person knows what they are doing, because essentially the life of a lot of people are in your hands.
Absolutely. So you then realize that you can go and study health and safety and have the diploma and the degree. But what happens is when they place you on site, it's a different story. So you need the practical side, having the experience, and also the qualifications, coming together, because at the end of the day, the lives of people depends on the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
Hence, you also realize that big companies, when we come on board and they appoint us, the first thing that they ask is, do you have an insurance? That's the indemnity insurance.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, because if I mislead the company or make a wrong decision, it can cost people. It can cost the lives of people.
Yeah. So I was going to come to that in terms of your insurance. What is the basis of the construction companies requiring you to have insurance, and also your experience with the insurance buying process. How do you find it, and what are some of the challenges that you see when you're trying to purchase your professional indemnity insurance?
I think it's very important that each and every company has insurance, as much as you'll have insurance, when you have a car or a vehicle, because you can drive safely for 5 years, and there's always that one day that will cost you, and most of the time you don't have, some people don't have, funds that whenever there's an incident or an accident that happens, to come in. So with me, then I realized that it's very important that each and every company has insurance, because our desire is to make sure that every project that we run, it's free or zero accident. But however, there are always incidents and accidents that happen, within the project. That's where you come in and introduce your insurance, because they're there to cover you, as a company, to protect you as a company. So you even have more confidence when you know that your companies are insured, because you know that I have a backup in case anything happens on site.
So here you are talking of your health and safety consulting company, Kepus.
Yes.
Give us a background. What exactly are you involved in terms of health and safety? What do you do on the ground, and how are you involved with contractors?
So let's say they are building a mall, or they're building a stadium. So you realize that you'll have your architects who come together, the designers, the environmental guys assess the land and everything. So once they are done, they bring the drawings to us as a health and safety consultant. And then what happens from those drawings, we develop what we call a health and safety specification. So the health and safety specification, that draft is the one, it's a detailed document whereby it will show how people are going to be working safe on that project. So we develop the health and safety specification. We develop what we call baseline risk assessments. If there is a requirement that the company has to apply for a construction work permit, especially if the project is beyond 13 million, we also assist companies in application with construction work permit with Department of Labor. From there, we do site establishment. We also have a team of safety officers. We come and place our safety officer who will be working there on site. And then we also attend meetings on your behalf, for your general meetings or your progress meetings. Then on a monthly basis, we also offer our compliance audits, just to make sure that the company complies with health and safety. We also offer systems where we implement health and safety systems like your ISO 45000 on OHS for quality and environmental. And then also our company is accredited. We also offer trainings like your first aid, your firefighting, working at heights, and all that. So if you need any services on health and safety, we are there to assist you. We also compile health and safety files. So we have a team in the whole of South Africa of safety officers, consultants, that will be able to assist you.
Thank you for that. So you find that health and safety is one of the big issues on construction projects, and for us, we are involved in insurance of construction projects. Health and safety is one of the big requirements when you're looking at the insurance for major construction projects. So I just want to get a sense of where do you get in from the bidding process? Are you involved in the bidding process? Are you part of the team of professionals that are brought on the ground? And what substance is the value of a health and safety officer on a construction project?
Okay. Yes, we are on the bidding process. Just maybe to start with, our company is 51% women owned, and also we are on level 1 BEE, and we are on CSD. We do tendering, and we also do government projects. Yes. So when it comes to health and safety, we realize that any project that runs, anything that can stop that project is health and safety. The company might not do well financial. If they say they are building something and the quality is bad, it does not stop the project. But if the company or the organization fails when it comes to health and safety, that's where they can stop you. The reason being, what was Simba saying is, there might be an emergency where building, maybe there was fire in the building, and if they are insured, they'll be able to recover that building. You might have gadgets, like in your office, you've got laptops for staff members and all that, but if they're insured, you are able to claim from insurance. But if there are humans involved, if that person dies or you lose your limb or your leg, that's it. There's no replacement. That's why health and safety is very important, because what was Simba saying is, because we focus more on the occupational health and safety. So the occupational health and safety is more related to human beings on site. So there's the environmental health and safety, where it focuses on nature, plants and animals, but we are on the occupational health and safety.
So when you're on a construction site, just to get into the practicalities, what are some of the major issues that you find to be problematic, or some of the major issues that causes accidents or health and safety issues on construction sites?
I think number one is lack of knowledge, whereby you find people who are skilled, they know how to build, they know how to operate plants, but they're not doing it safely. So that's why it's important that in each and every site, before you start, we do what we call a health and safety induction. We induct you and tell you about the requirements, and the expertise when it comes to OHS. So information is power. So I think number one is educating, people, empowering them. That's why you realize that there is a system that we have. It's an ongoing system whereby we communicate to all the employees before they come on site, make them aware of the importance of health and safety. And then number two, it's always the behavior of employees, because with each and every project, there is a duration where you find out that they tell you, for us to complete this project, it's 6 months or it's 12 months or it's 36 months. So you realize that most projects, they'll be running behind time. So there's so much pressure that they put in employees, where it ends up putting them in a space where they're not working safely. So the behavior that we find, where we come in and say, we make sure that you're supposed to have proper PPE, your personal protective equipment. But sometimes you find someone who's grinding and is not putting on ear protections or goggles. And when we enforce health and safety, we're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for employees there on site. So secondly, is the behavior, of employees. And then thirdly, you also realize most incidents, it's working at heights. People are working in using ladders, scaffolding, safety harnesses, So that's where we require in each and every subcontractor or project that they're supposed to have what we call a health and safety file. Because inside a health and safety file, there are plans and procedures that will guide the employees on how to work safe, especially when they're working on heights.
Thank you so much for highlighting some of the risk issues, and just to get a sense of what are some of the risk mitigation strategies that you recommend to contractors, or when you go on site, what are the major risk mitigation strategies that you think will work any day?
I think number one, before any project starts, especially when the team come together, like whether it's the principal contractor, involve the health and safety consultant or officer from the beginning. It helps in terms of planning, where we come in and say, okay, as much as you have a plan to say we are moving from here to there, we also come in together and recommend on how best we can avoid, stopping the site and all that. And then secondly is, I think what's more important is for companies who I always, with most of my clients, I always recommend to say, if you are the CEO or you are the owner, please do at least a bit of training or a course on health and safety, because whether you like it or not, in all projects, they involve health and safety. If you don't have the time or you don't have anyone that you can appoint, we are there, involve us so that we come and consult for you, And then secondly, like I mentioned, the document health and safety file. So that document covers a lot of things, because in a health and safety file, this is where we compile what we call risk assessments. This is where we compile what we call a health and safety plan. This is where we compile what we call a fall protection plan and a rescue plan. So before any project starts, the health and safety file is one of the most powerful documents ever, because a health and safety file is a reflection of all activities that happen on site. It covers even all your tools, your plans, each and every scope of work that will be happening on site.
So when one sees or hears about health and safety, my mind quickly races to compliance. So can you clarify, are you operating more in a compliance environment, or you are more looking at good practice, which is good for business or good for the well-being of people? Where exactly do you fit in there?
Okay, thank you. So what we do, anything and everything that we do, we follow the regulation, the OHS regulation and the Act, So in health and safety, that is our Bible, because whatever we do, our reference has to be according to the OHS Act. Yes. So beyond that, then, which means you are not complying.
I'm trying to get to a sense where contractors or people on site do the bare minimum for compliance, as compared to actually doing good practice, which is good for their employees, good for anyone accessing a construction site.
Okay, so let me give an example. The OHS Act says in every 10 employees, a contractor is supposed to appoint or train a first aider. And also they're supposed to have their own first aid box. In every 20 employees, meaning if you have more than 20 employees, you're supposed to have what we call a safety rep. And then when it comes to good practice, so there's a company that we once worked for, is called Group 5. So they knew that each and every contractor is supposed to have a safety rep if you have more than 20 employees. But you know what they said? They implemented good practice to say, even if you have 4 of you, we require that you have your own safety rep. So people were confused to say, but the Act says if we're more than 20. And then the reason being was that you realize that most of their projects will have more than 1,000 employees on site. And in each project, you only have one safety officer. So one safety officer can't be responsible for 1,000 employees on site. And then the good practice was, if each contractor, if you come on board and you have your own safety rep, the safety rep reports to the safety officer. So instead of the safety officer looking after 1,000 people, the safety officer will only communicate with the safety rep, and the safety rep, you go and communicate with your employees. So that was good practice. So normally when we implement good practice is when we have gone and checked the Act, and then we realize that we don't find any Act or regulation when it comes to the scope of work that you are doing. And then we come together and say, what is it that is going to make people safe? And then we implement a good practice. Having said that, so it's important that each and every company, they're supposed to have their own company policies. Like in your company, we are under COVID-19 because it also falls under health and safety. So out there, they will tell you that you're supposed to wear a mask, sanitize, social distancing. And now they're saying in public, since we're on level 1, you can walk around without a mask.
Yeah.
But good practice, you can still say, this is our company. any person who walks in our premises, please make sure that you put on a mask 24/7.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's very clear now. That's more
Yes.
that's more practical for me.
Yes.
And I was going to come to the issue of COVID. How has it changed your practice with regards to the construction environment, considering health and safety issues? How has it changed your environment? What are the new things that you have seen coming in with the COVID pandemic?
I think for me, I would say this. I think it was a blessing in disguise, in a sense that I think it really helped a lot of people to be more cautious or be more aware when it comes to health and safety, because some of the things we were already practicing them.
Okay.
So you realize that when COVID came, they will tell you you're supposed to wash your hands, sanitize your hands. But these are some of the things that we're already practicing on site, where you wash your hands.
Yes.
Putting on a mask, we were already putting on mask, not the surgical mask, but because you work in environments where there is a dust. So make sure that people are putting on a dust mask, and you don't have to wait 2 days. You wait 1 day, you throw it away. Same applies with the surgical mask. If you're going to use a surgical mask, once you use it, you have to throw it away. So I think it was an awareness, and it helped for people to realize that it's important to practice some of these things, So for us, it was like, okay, now it's a force that is coming from the government, from WHO and from the government. It was helping us, to say, you'll see now, these things are important. We're not supposed to wait until there is a virus or whatever. We're supposed to practice these things on a daily basis.
Interesting. And maybe if you can just give us a highlight before we close. You obviously should have witnessed one unfortunate incident that, shows or that actually reflects a lack of attention to, or a lack of compliance with health and safety. Maybe you can just highlight some of the scenarios that you have seen.
Yeah, one of the recent incident that happened, one of my sites, I'm not going to mention the company. So these guys, what they were doing is he was cleaning the scaffolding, sweeping. So there were sharp objects, and someone was underneath that scaffolding, and he was looking up. So one sharp object fell, and it almost, stung his eye. But fortunate enough, it only went underneath his eye. But he had a huge cut. He almost lost his eye, and he knows that the guy was up cleaning. He knows that when you are cleaning, you have to demarcate the area underneath. Make sure there's no one who's walking across or through that,
So that's a health and safety procedure that was not followed in that.
That was not followed, yes. Because with each and every activity, we have what we call safe working procedures. So if you're going to do a new activity, before you start it, you come and do a safe working procedure to say, what are the procedures, to avoid any incident or accident that may take place. But because the person was in a rush to finish, he didn't think that my actions might harm someone else. And I tell you, that guy was out for 2 months. It almost affected his eye, but he went to a doctor and his eye was closed totally, and he lost even a lot of blood. So these are some of the. It sounds so small. Imagine a small. He's sweeping. It's not even a brick that fell, but it's just a small sharp object that fell into his eye.
So this is where the health and safety guys, this is where you meet with us, the insurance fraternity, because where health and safety fails, the insurance industry pays.
Yes, and also just to also highlight, especially on your side, I know the insurance that you are covering. Another incident that happened is, like I'm saying, sometimes you find out that these guys are in a hurry. They were building a column, and I think the cement wasn't strong enough, And during break time, they went in that column and they were lying on that column eating, and the bricks fell on top of them.
Yeah.
That's another incident that can happen. So, which means the main contractor or the principal contractor has to be insured.
Yeah.
Because imagine if that person died.
Yeah.
What will happen?
But someone could actually come and say, the health and safety officer or the health and safety consultant failed to execute their job, and that's the reason why you guys also need insurance.
Yes, definitely we need insurance. We definitely, but however, in each and every incident that happens on site, when investigation, because there's an investigation that takes place.
Yeah.
So when they're doing an investigation, we're checking two sides. Number one, was it the fault of the employer or was it the fault of the employee?
Yes.
So if it's the employer, they need you, the insurance. If it's the employee, again, we also need you. So you then realize that both parties need insurance at the end of the day. When they bump me when I'm driving, whether I'm wrong, I still need you. The other one was right. So at the end of the day, you play a huge role. So imagine if I don't have insurance, which means they can, because us safety officers, our companies, we are registered with the body or with the council. So if they investigate and realize that you are the one who's at fault and I don't have a backup, they can cancel you. So you play a huge role when it comes to the construction, the mining sector, even in retail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. I think there's no better way to illustrate the risks and the need for insurance, and of course you are there to make sure that those incidences don't happen after all. And when the worst happens, when things fail, of course we are there as the insurance industry to make sure that we make good the losses that contractors or business operators are having on site. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and information.
Thank you for your time.